Welcome to another overview of another job in 5.11. This time I studied the blade and found out some significant differences comparing him or melees in general to the state of our casters and ranged physicals, but more to that later. First, let me provide you my general impression of the samurai in Shadowbringers. While nearly every combat aspect and system remained the same like it was in Stormblood, where it actually felt quite complete already, the new additions the samurai received are amazing. I really like the idea of Tsubame Geshi, doubling the profit and heaviness of Midara or Tenka, resulting in an insane feeling of ultimate burst that actually is able to push your DPS heavensward with these two blows that can easily beat 200,000 damage in 3 seconds. Hisatsu Sine, that only seems to be the single target version of Hisatsu Guren. It feels like more than just an increase of potency. The visual effect and its high peaking crit potential make that a sweet addition to the devastating arsenal of the samurai, and these two-folded strikes just look awesome. Iki Shoten as our new combat starter also is a nice addition to receive quite a buffer to use specific combo options or burst windows right at the start of the fight. Furthermore, with this tool you're positively forced to manage your Kenki correctly during the whole combat, because of the risk of wasting Kenki by delaying Iki, or by overcapping through the use of it without having spent enough Kenki for Hisatsu Shinten. The next one, Shoha. Yes, its start into Shadowbringers was quite, how can we call it, bullshit. But gladly, since 5.1, that spell got the love and value it deserves, being a simple but nice addition to our OGCD arsenal. On the AoE department, it seems that we only saw some positive changes, like Oka and Mangetsu now also increasing the duration of our speed and damage buff granted through Jinpu and Shifu. Or was that already present in Stormblood? I don't know. Maybe you have access to a better functioning ability to remember than I have. Nonetheless, the addition of Tsubame that can also double the value of Kenka Goten every 60 seconds is another extension of that bursty feeling of one-hand killing. So nice to have you around, my friend. Now to my mixed feelings section. Hagakure. What's wrong with you, old buddy? Personally, I had the feeling the Stormblood difficulty of the samurai really was all about managing these Hagakure timings. Now, that spell turned into some sort of sen remover, if you have taken the wrong sen path or risk overwriting one you already have. I may lack the expertise or wisdom to think about an insane method to form a genius rotation or trick with that ability, but it somehow transformed from our biggest mechanic into the device that we use to bring out our rotational garbage. Anyways, overall, the samurai really took a step forward in Shadowbringers. Even when being simplified like many other jobs, the melee difficulty still remains, so at serious encounters there will always be a challenge even when we studied the blade intensively. Now, let us come to the balancing section. This is mainly the result of numbers and values being pushed too high or too low, so spontaneous changes could be made in no time. But that sounds too easy, doesn't it? Yes, and that is why we have to take a small detour on the topic, because the samurai being the first melee job I am comparing to others and giving you some honest feedback about it. Remember, melee jobs are not my field of expertise, and most of the content I have participated in has been done with the caster jobs, tanks or ranged physical DPS. So this next section may be the result of my inexperience, lack of practice and mainly my stupidity in placing those positionals correctly. Okay, so much so good. Melee jobs are in a big disadvantage to casters or ranged shooters at the moment, from a casual or non-professional perspective at least. Of course, there are these two exceptions beneath the caster jobs, but more to that later. It's all about these positionals. While samurai and other melee jobs are performing great on any dummy fight, even non-melee players like me, a samurai can turn into a dangerous weapon of devastation. But when it comes to fights like Eden 2 Savage for example, this is turned into a disaster. The stress level of switching from my job positionals to the fight's positionals is way higher than the stress I feel when doing that with my summoner. Now you could say, Des, you just lack the required skill for playing melee jobs. Yes, I agree with you on that, but now comes the crux to this matter. It makes no difference. May it be in Stormblood or even before patch 5.1. On paper and when being played by high skilled people, melee jobs could outperform me with my summoner or red mage. But the skill requirements to reach that goal were high, and now with the 5.1 disaster it gets even worse. I mean, why should I choose maybe 1000 DPS and some more HP over raising spells and the ultimate flexibility of Red Mage and Summoner? I know there are perfect raid compositions and jobs like the Dragoon may provide an insane amount of RDPS support to his allies. But still, if someone dies, the value of a single Red Mage or Summoner in your group is priceless. Even if I try to always take perfect situations and compositions into consideration, the reality and corpus of the game's content and player base stays mainly on casual content or people that are progging into Savage, where raising DPS jobs shine brighter than everything else. While the ranged supporters like Bard, Machinist or Dancer still have the advantage of being even more flexible with movement and positioning, those melee jobs suffer under a much heavier skill requirement, and even the Samurai, being the easiest among them all in my opinion, still suffers from strict positionals inside of non-dummy fights. What I mean, if I got the chance to do so, I would proc with 4 Summoners at the moment, or maybe 2 Summoners, 1 Dragoon and 1 Dancer, for having an insane personal DPS of course. But even with serious reason and logic, melee jobs only pay out at the moment you're taking things onto the next level. Compare your raid DPS with others or take part in speed raiding efforts. But didn't I mention 2 exceptions? Yes. The other exception is Black Mage. While also having no positional requirements, the Black Mage's combat system and rotation needs to be planned and managed over the whole fight, while every form of movement is a potential harm to your DPS output. That means his difficulty level is rewarded with the highest DPS in game, and the difference to Red Mage or Summoner, when he wasn't overpowered at the moment, is definitely noticeable. But still, he doesn't provide any form of support to the group, and it's a horrific effort disparity to reach the DPS of a Summoner when taking your Black Mage into something like Eden 1 or 2. So under these circumstances, I would put Black Mage to the melee camp. Okay, but what does that all mean for balancing of the Samurai? It means we have to split this into 3 different approaches. Approach 1. You're taking your Samurai and some sort of basic knowledge how to perform your rotation quite well into copied factory or other dummy fights. You will definitely crush every competition with a personal DPS that towers above all others indisputably. Even some Black Mages and most Summoners kneel before your omnipresent power. Approach 2. You're taking your Samurai to proc. Some movement and position heavy and basically difficult fights like Hades Extreme or Eden 2 Savage. With the same knowledge as before, you will definitely lose against the average Summoner or Red Mage, and some basic Black Mages maybe. Okay, not really. Black Mages are still much more difficult to play. The third approach. You are the master of Sen and Kenki, studying the blade for decades, reaching orange or maybe even gold spots on FF logs, and want to speed or lock raid with your group, dancing from positional to positional while also dodging any form of AoE. So you are heading to Eden 2 Savage or Hades and will outperform any other DPS, in theory. Why in theory? Because the serious dudes are choosing the Dragoon instead. So TLDR, the Dragoon is stronger in serious raid compositions. The Samurai is insane for personal parsing and casual fun and will be a good choice if you manage those positionals in rotation heavy fights. Otherwise, a Red Mage or Summoner, how he should be, may be the better choice for progressing through any form of content, except for meditation in the sunset. There, the Samurai is your best choice for good Instagram or social media pictures. I know, I am some sort of caster fanboy, which is the effect of 15 years of WoW, where casters always felt like shit in PvE content, and I'm really enjoying Square's approach on them. Nonetheless, I think melee jobs have their power on paper, and on serious matters, where experienced players can utilize their full potential. But for me, I really like the relaxed way of Red Mage and Bahamut, Summoner, while Samurai being a good alternative for some copied factory runs or expert dungeons, etc. But I would never take Samurai into proc, while I could have raising potential, and that somehow applies to the other melee jobs as well. Sorry for that long roundabout way, but that was the honest opinion I could give you. So here comes the most important part. How do you feel about the before mentioned situation? Do you think the little DPS advantage of melees is enough to compensate missing raising abilities or range flexibility, tell me about your ideas and opinions in the comment section. And don't worry, still I will study the blade and return to you as the Edge Master you deserve, to provide a comprehensive samurai guide like for all other jobs. So stay tuned and see you in the next days again. Until then, check out my Twitch channel for some live and unfiltered samurai devastation, and take care.